The Matthew Henson space used to be a nail salon. I heard Beyonce used to come and get her nails done in there. I heard before that a guy used to run some type of insurance business out of there. And way back in the day, the building used to be a nightclub, so who knows what was going on in there. For us, the Matthew Henson space was a place for black artists to come and showcase their work. We named it after the great black explorer Matthew Henson because we wanted artists to explore themselves there. Last week, I gave the keys up. It was pretty hard, but I had to shut the Matthew Henson space down. We were there for a year and 2 months. It was located on the corner of 139th Street and Adam Clayton Powell in Harlem. In our time, we had workshops for kids, workshops for adults. We were selling stickers out of there at one point. We had birthday celebrations, rehearsals, podcasts, readings of new work. Hands down, the biggest victory of the Matthew Henson space was 2/5.
Alright, cool. Beautiful question. This is anybody's first ever improv show? Nobody?
It's the first black one.
Alright.
We were doing the 2/5 improv show out of the Henson space almost every Friday night. After every show, people would just hang out and chill. It was a vibe. The 5 black men that make up the 2/5 improv group did a lot of sharing and bonding in that space. And 2/5, the name was starting to catch on and the group was starting to branch out and go different places to perform.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus! Coronavirus! Shit is real! Shit is getting real! Shit is real! Coronavirus!
The day New York started shutting everything down for Corona, it was a Friday. And I remember we had a show. And I remember calling everybody to tell them we had to cancel. And then the Henson space was closed for about 3 months due to Corona. The landlord started calling for back rent, and they wanted to work something out, but we felt like we would be falling into a bigger debt than we would be able to handle and had to let it go. Closing out Henson, it felt like I was letting everybody down. I felt like we represented something to a lot of people because, we're young and we're black and we had our own space to create. And I didn't want to sing that song about losing the space to people. I had this fear that people would associate the closing of the Matthew Henson space with the end of 2/5. Then the day I was closing up Matthew Henson, I was in the space by myself, And I had this thought and I was like, man, 2/5 is not over. We just hit a brick wall. And it's crazy because as soon as I thought that, I remembered what a great teacher said about hitting brick walls.
So that was a bit of a setback. But remember, the brick walls are there for a reason. All right? The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people.
When I was in the Matthew Henson space by myself cleaning it out and all these thoughts were coming to me, that's when I had the idea and the question. Could I create a new space where I could produce shows and make recordings in the basement of my house? Then I asked myself, if I was really going to do this, and I said if I did it, I would have to do it within the next 2 weeks, by my birthday on July 2nd. Then, once you have all the ideas, that's when all the thoughts and the second thoughts come like, nah, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that. And then right then and there when I was starting to question myself and wonder if I was crazy and all the doubt, right then and there is when I found this note from Brad. Brad came to the space with a program we were doing with Carnegie Hall. And then he stayed connected with us. He would come to 2/5 shows. He did some work with us. So the last thing I did the day I was leaving Henson was empty out the mailbox. And I found a note from Brad. I don't know when he dropped it off because we weren't there for like 3 months. But the note from him said, "Keep up the beautiful work." And that right there was the sign I needed to go ahead and make the next step. On June 18th, I closed the Matthew Henson space down and promised that I would build a new space for performances and making videos in the basement of my house. I said I would do this by my birthday on July 2nd. I didn't do it though.
Sometimes I feel so uninspired. Sometimes I feel like giving up.
Do you know what failing to materialize an idea feels like? Or have you ever felt like the idea you had this morning should be finished by this afternoon? And then when things don't materialize so quick, you start feeling overwhelmed or start feeling like you're not good enough. And then you see people doing superhuman things on social media and start wondering why you can't be like that. All the books and all the things say that you should start with a picture of what you want in your head. The picture I had in my head was that on my birthday, I would have all the guys from the 2/5 group over to a newly built studio in my basement, and there would be a cake with sparklers on it. I envisioned us going live on Instagram and saying live from the new home of 2/5. But when I sent an invite out for them to come through on my birthday, most of them said they had something to do. Do you ever second guess if you really have the power to visualize your future? Do you ever think you're sabotaging your destiny because you're not doing enough? Do you ever turn your back on an idea and start focusing on other things and not yourself? Between June 18th and July 2nd, I kept feeling like I was stuck at the starting line of a race, and I'd hear the gun go off, but I wouldn't start running. At the same time, my wife wanted to have people over to the crib. We share birthday weekends, and she wanted to have a party that weekend. So my focus started being on getting the house ready for a party. And during the party, I went upstairs. I thought I would only rest my eyes for a few minutes, but I fell asleep for 2 hours and missed most of the party. I was so mad that I put so much energy, physical energy, emotional energy into the party instead of building the studio, and I fell asleep and missed the party anyway. Do you know what thinking you're getting nowhere feels like? I know there are days and there are times that I write in my journal what I need to be thinking in order to get to the next step. The entry was dated June 21st, and it said, "Today's a multiple of 7. I didn't even realize. I am to cut the producer show today. Few things though. Today I heard what abundance is. If we're speaking in abundance, we're speaking about what we do have." If we're talking about steps that I had to take towards building the studio, then something I would write down is after feeling like nothing was moving, I went back and looked at the same period of time and identified all of the things that I did get during that time period. I have the space in my basement to work out of. I have all the wood I need to move forward in constructing the space. One day I took measurements and just was like, I'm out, and went down to Home Depot and brought the wood. Someone sent some junk mail to commemorate the 4th of July, and the package had some sparklers in it, and when I opened it and took the sparklers out, that made me remember the picture I had in my mind of the 2/5 fellas coming to see the space and be in the space for the first time. Through the work of Soul Center in Atlanta, I reflected on Dr. Barbara Ann Teer. Barbara Ann Teer is really one of the greatest examples I have of someone who has done what I want to do. When I set up shelves in the back of the basement, I made a really big move in creating the energy of the space. And shortly after my birthday, I did have the 2/5 guys over to the space. And when they came over, I reminded myself that I have the power to make the things that I see in my mind become real. The time and the date and even the look might be different. If we're speaking in abundance, we're speaking about what we do have.
Something's gonna happen in your life, and it's going to affect everybody's life. For the good, for the good, for the good.
Shining, represent the lightness in the darkness, a diamond. Y'all niggas ain't ready when I drop this. The timing, remarkable and in alignment. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to say, and I'm gonna hit this to Sean. For me, what's so valuable about what Sean is doing, what I'm doing. Sean, you had to build that studio in the bottom of your house because it has to be a space.
Right.
This sister created the Timbuktu Club. It has to be a space. If there is not a space created, the magic cannot happen inside. To me, us in our generation, 30s and 40s, it is our responsibility to make space.
Don't wanna wait till tomorrow. Why put it on another day? One by one, little problems build up and stand in our way. One step ahead, one step behind it. Now you gotta run to get even. Make future plans I've never known. Yesterday, hey, come on, turn this thing around.
If we do not have the spaces created, how are we going to welcome in young people to do something? We don't. And then we're expecting these larger theatrical systems and white folks to do it, and they refuse to figure out how to get our own securities together, how to believe in ourselves, how to take care of ourselves health-wise, mentally, right, spiritually, emotionally, so that we can craft spaces, collectives, institutions, so these young folks can have a place to go.
For me, when the idea comes and I'm feeling it, and it makes sense, like I could see that it's gonna move me forward somehow, I write it down or I draw it in my journal. I write some words around it to make it come true. And then I just keep talking myself up in my head, telling myself that I'm gonna do it. And then I get off my ass and I do it. You know, doing one step at a time. One small step is so important because one small step is a change. You know, so I make consistent small steps until it manifests. And another thing too is you always figure there's going to be a kink, you know what I mean? So when a kink comes up, you just have to figure out how to, you know, shift your energy, solve the problem, and keep it moving. And it still blows me away when I finish something and it's standing right there in front of me. This is how I envision the shit in my mind, and now it's standing in front of me. I love that.
Nobody's coming to save us. So
right.
what are we doing to make space, even, sister, if it's in the digital space?
We invite you to something epic, you know? Where we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, sort of a desperation. Through that desperation, we come addicted, sort of like the fiends we accustomed to serving. Where we feel we have nothing to lose, so we offer you, well, we offer our lives. What do you bring to the table? While I'm watching every nigga watching me closely. My shit is butter for the bread, they wanna toast me. I keep my head